Good evening, and welcome to the February 5th meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Santa Cruz. Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Gordon?
Here.
Hammer?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Paul Hamus? Thompson? Kelly? Vice Chair McKelvey?
Here. I think first order of business is oral communications, and that's the time when the public has an opportunity to come before the commission and offer comments or, I guess, ask questions occasionally about projects, about issues that are not on the agenda. And so if there's anyone that would like to speak, I'd like them to come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will move on to the approval of the minutes. If we could get a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Hammer? You can vote aye.
Aye.
McKelvey?
Aye. Thank you. And next is the consent public hearing agenda. I think, is it 2 items that we have tonight, besides informational and other things that might follow?
Correct, one on consent and then one on public hearing.
Okay. Is there a staff presentation for the first item?
The consent item, no, unless the commission would like to pull it.
So I guess the question is, do any of the commissioners want to pull it off consent?
Does anyone want to
Discuss it further.
pull it off the consent agenda?
Well, welcome to ask questions about it too without pulling it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Commissioner Gordon?
When
Love
is this
saying
going
that.
back to council?
this
Or not
item,
back, it hasn't gone yet. When is it going to council?
if it were approved tonight, it's going to go to the March 10th city council meeting.
Can you name examples of large-scale, like 500-unit affordable housing projects from other cities that are successful? Because it seems like what this new overlay district will potentially create.
Sorry, the what?
I'm just looking for case studies that you may have done that show that a city like ours can run a large-scale 500-unit affordable housing project of this scale.
Yeah, in terms of the Coral Street overlay,
Yeah.
before us tonight, we are going, it's completing the Coral Street vision. The parcel sizes in that area and the heights, the maximum heights allowed, I don't think you could get a 500-unit project in any of those sites. They're all fairly small parcels.
But I'm thinking combined, like if they were all built out.
Potentially, although I do think a lot of the sites already built out as well in the Coral Street vision area. If Clark had come up too, I mean, we did do some, the 133 Fern site that we added to this area to complete our state requirements. We did do some initial, site testing on it to determine about how many units could fit on that site based on the size of the site and the floor area ratio of the site. And that's the largest parcel still in this vision area. Laura, do you remember how many units it was? I want to say it was something like 130 units. Okay. 158. Thanks, Clara. Thank you. I think the other thing too, because this is more shelter related, there could be affordable housing on these sites too, but we've seen in all the affordable housing that's come to Santa Cruz so far, and pretty consistent in other cities as well. 100 to 200 units tends to be a affordable housing sweet spot when it comes to financing, site size, costs, things like that. There's not, I can't think of a project larger than that off the top of my head.
I'm just talking about the entire overlay district when it's all built out. You know, how many units will be added?
Oh, the total amount.
Right.
The zoning, calls for, Clara, do you know the math on that? We had, per the state requirements, and that's all this essentially is we're showing the state that we have this capacity. And we're using this area to show the state we have that capacity. And that capacity is based on our point in time homeless count from 2023 that we have to exceed. And we're able to subtract a number of other projects from that as well, such as our supportive housing elsewhere in the city and our current shelter beds also. So I believe in total, we're in this area, we've essentially planned for, I don't have the number, 400 something? Take it away, Clara, thank you.
Sure. Clara Stanger, Senior Planner. The number I have in front of me is 424, and hopefully that's the same as what's in the staff report. And so that is the number of shelter beds that we would need to provide in order to fulfill that capacity need in Santa Cruz.
So
So,
the
Not
state,
provide, but plan for.
okay.
yes,
But the state isn't requiring us to provide 400 shelter beds.
it requires us to show enough qualifying sites that are zoned to allow that number of shelter beds as a principally permitted use.
Thought it was 400 like throughout the county, including the city.
This just covers the city's unsheltered
Okay.
count.
So we're required to provide 400 shelter beds in addition to what we already have.
We're required to plan for the capacity. We don't have to actually provide those beds to meet this state requirement. I mean, we're gonna always try to provide as much shelter beds as possible.
Right.
We have a great homelessness response unit, but purely to meet this state requirement, all we have to do is show the capacity that if these shelter beds were desired to be built and someone wanted to build them, they could come in and do that and meet that requirement.
And do we need 8 stories in order to provide 400 shelter beds?
What is the height limit? I believe
We set the height limit at 8 stories, and that was based on the descriptions of the types of buildings envisioned in the Coral Street Visioning Report. 8 stories would accommodate the what was envisioned in terms of the number of stories and the floor area of the residential and commercial that was described. So that's not directly related to meeting that unsheltered capacity requirement in state law. It's to complete the zoning changes that were called for by the Coral Street Visioning Report. And the report itself recognized that the buildings described in the report were pretty hypothetical. And not necessarily, there wasn't something set in stone of what is planned to be developed. It was just to give an idea of what could be on that area. In creating the zoning changes, we took into account what was in the visioning report to accommodate something up to that size, but we're not necessarily expecting the area to be built out to that size.
Okay. So technically, we could have a lower height limit and still accommodate 400 shelter beds.
I mean, potentially, I hadn't calculated that out.
Okay. And have you examples from other cities that have a 400 shelter bed site that is safely and well-run, like of our size, in one location? I just worry about planning to place 400 shelter beds right there, because usually affordable housing and, needs to be spread out and right now. It's not very safe there. And
Yeah.
so maybe having 400 shelter beds right there isn't the greatest idea.
To answer your question directly, we did not look at examples of larger shelter developments. The reason why we have everything in this location was because we have consulted closely with our city council housing subcommittee, and they have provided a very strong preference to locate the rezoning within the Coral Street and to not have it elsewhere in town at this point.
Okay, so you don't have evidence of 400, like of a city running a 400 shelter bed placement?
I also haven't looked for it, so it might be out there, it might not.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gordon, I love
Thank
saying
you.
that.
Never thought of that before.
What is the mechanism, or is there a mechanism, let's say, so just going back to the 8-story and the overlay, is that it's a very specific criteria for that overlay, like in order to exercise this, right? And so is there a mechanism if 10 years from now, we are in a situation where we have, it would be a great situation where it's like we don't have the same crisis that we're dealing with now. And yet we've got this overlay that's very rigid to that specific use. What happens at that point? Does it come back and go through the same process again? Or, I mean, 8 stories, I mean, I know that you think it's built out, but the new lot that was just acquired is not built out, and Housing Matters, the space that they've leased, that they plan to purchase, if they haven't already, they can go up 8 stories. That's probably 600 housing units, probably minimum, that could probably go in those two. So what happens when we have this excess of, or is there a mechanism? So just curious.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, the 8 stories came out of the Coral Street visioning process. And this before you today is really implementing that piece of the Coral Street visioning process. And that 8 stories, while I don't think we'll likely see that. It's not typical for 100% affordable housing project to be an 8-story project. 5 or 6 stories is much more common in those type of larger mid-rise projects. But we did want to allow for maximum flexibility should someone come in and wish to do that. The most recent projects there, I think, are 5 and 6 stories, and the current one that the city just acquired on 125 is also in that realm as well. And should we meet the capacity at some point? I think that was your other question there. This state law is only requiring us to be able to show the state that we're meeting that number that was set per our point-to-time count. That number could change at some point, but this legislation right now is just speaking to that one number. And so if it were to be hit through these projects, we wouldn't have to be zoning other places or doing anything else, or the overlay could even go away at that point if we're hitting that number.
Yeah, to speak a little more to Matt's point, the state law as it's currently written requires us to plan for this unsheltered based on the point in time count that was done before the start of our current housing cycle. So if the state law is still written the same way at our next housing cycle and our situation is substantially different, we could potentially come back and revisit those numbers then based in that future point in time count before the start of the next housing cycle.
Okay, I was more sort of thinking like, let's say we have 600 units that are built under the guise of what this overlay is, and then circumstances change or it's not working all to be concentrated in that area and we're spreading it around the county, which would be great, you know? Like, what happens to those buildings, let's say if they're built under the guise of this, and we don't necessarily need them anymore, like what happens then?
So so if they're built under the guise of this, they would be shelters or affordable housing that would be used. If they're no longer to be used for that purpose, for some reason, there's no shelters needed, I mean, that would really be just up to the property owner at that point to determine what better use that property could be or change into.
Okay, so it could be turned into market rate apartments essentially, or if they wanted them to be. I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand is like, yeah, what's the long-term sort of implications of something like changing this? Because I'm just curious. I don't know. We've not done. I've not seen it.
Yeah, I mean, for this, it's ultimately a planning exercise where we're just showing the capacity and we're zoning for these specific uses. Shelter could change to affordable housing someday. And like Clara said, we'd still be having to come back in 5 years or so to redo the calculus on how much we need to show the state. And if at that point, some amount of our shelters are gone for whatever reason, that would have to go back into our consideration and we'd have to look for other sites potentially.
Commissioner Kennedy?
So if we didn't plan for this here, we would be putting it at different spots. I mean, I remember this has been a very long process, I want to point out, with a lot of visioning, and I just don't remember all the details over the years. But it would essentially be in other spots around the city, right?
Correct.
I don't think this is an ideal spot, but I have heard strong resistance from neighbors on affordable housing projects, weed dispensaries, booze shops, e-bike facilities, not yet, but anywhere else but this area. So I guess that's more of a comment, but this is a good spot to be. My last comment is we should have a parade if we have 600 shelter beds in a 10-story building out there. So while I appreciate thinking about worst case, I don't find that realistic, and it'd be great.
I would also say we should have a parade if we don't need it at some point.
Yeah, even better.
So there was a question about whether anyone wanted to pull the item, and I think that's still on the floor after our round of questions.
I can make that motion. So I don't really, I don't know, I'm not a procedural expert, so I don't know how to make that motion, but it would be nice to pull it so that I can propose some amendments related to height standards.
I'm not sure what the,
Okay, I make a motion to pull it from consent calendar.
you don't have to, you can just say,
Okay. I would make a motion to lower the height standards at the very least. I just, I mean, I think there's, I support, I would like to say for the record that the area is currently a public health safety concern. And if it were not a public health safety concern, I would be all for and very trusting and willing to make this a public housing project of large scale. But I've never heard of a large public housing project described in this of this magnitude that has done well. And I think history teaches us that we should never segregate the vulnerable and unhoused in one area of a city and expect it to go well.
So would that motion be to accept the staff recommendation? You're making a recommendation to the city council. So it would be to accept the staff recommendation with an additional recommendation to the city council to lower the height standards.
Or maybe I should just, yeah, yeah.
So looking for a second.
And the second is on the conditions, the reason for, is that the question?
What it sounded like to me was it was to go ahead and move the staff recommendation with an additional recommendation to the city council to lower the height standards in the plan.
But that's not the same as pulling it.
We don't need a motion for that.
Okay.
You're pulling it just because you're moving on in.
All right. So do we need to call a vote on that?
We need a second.
Okay.
And if you don't have a second, then
Right.
we keep going.
Prior to that too, if it's being pulled off consent, technically there's also public
True.
communication as well.
Thank you.
So you have to open a public.
But you
Yeah,
would
it's-
need to get a second, right?
Mhm.
And then you open it up to the public. It's kind of a little disjointed.
I'm like not opposed to the idea of a height limit out there actually, but I'm just concerned about seconding it at this late stage in the process. We've already seen this one, so that's what I'm gonna pass. But like, it's not the worst concern.
Hearing no second? I think we,
Okay, so now you move on to, why don't you hear from the public, see if anybody, open the public hearing.
okay, I'd like to open the public hearing for the item we've been discussing. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to it?
Hi, I'm just curious what height limit you would propose changing it to from 8 stories, like 7 stories or what?
Unfortunately, it's not really a dialogue we can have, but I'd love to hear your views on it.
Oh, well, I don't really know enough to be expressing an opinion.
How do you, it's a matter of what you think of it. I'm not sure how much you know about it, but it's,
I
well, we welcome your comments, so. So are we deciding whether to move this to the council now?
You guys are gonna make a motion one way or another. What it is up to you.
I move to approve it as written.
I'll second it.
Can we have a vote?
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hammer,
No.
McKelvey.
Yes.
So that technically, we need 4 votes for this to
We should have accepted that.
move forward. So one thing we can do is we can certainly, I mean, there could be a revote. And what we could do if you want to move this forward, Commissioner Hammer, we can still note in the staff report to council that it was a 3-1 vote. But it's, there was 1 dissent, but it's moving forward. And
Sure,
we
let's
can
do that.
certainly, we can certainly note your
Yeah.
height concerns as well.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
And let's note in the record that the reason why I'm voting no is because of the health and safety to the community that this level of dense, affordable, and supportive housing produces for our town, and also how segregating the vulnerable is unconstitutional pursuant to the Olmsted decision.
Do we need to revote?
Well, technically speaking, you would have a motion to reconsider the motion that was just,
I move to reconsider the motion.
second.
I can second.
Can we call the roll?
Commissioner Kennedy,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Hammer. This is to reconsider, so you open it again.
Aye.
Hammer. McKelvey.
Yes.
And now would be the time to do
public.
The same motion again.
Yeah, I just want to add something, because obviously I'm struggling. So I want to thank you, because I think that your questions and comments were very thoughtful. They're concerns that I think we all share. The reason why I was asking about when it's going to council is because I think that there are recommendations that we can make as commissioners. It's a complicated situation there. And height limits, nobody's can really afford to even do 8 units right now, just with all the risk. I mean, 8 floors. So I hear that, and I do have concerns, but there is an opportunity for us to voice our concerns with council as it moves forward too. So thank you.
So given there's 4 of us, this is now a consensus-based process. So maybe before there's a motion, we could hear some nice recommendations to add to council, maybe we'd all agree on.
Sure.
Maybe rephrase what you said earlier.
Okay. I mean, a couple of recommendations is city council should not move this forward until there's a proven good neighbor behavior, which includes that comment letter we received today from the next door industrial use. I mean, I did drive by and there are individuals loitering on their property, and so that's unacceptable. And so once that area becomes safe for me and my children to walk down to go to a dance lesson at the International Dance Center, then yeah, let's that's proven good behavior, that's proven safe, and then we can move forward to providing this overlay district in a really intelligent way. I don't think, I think under the Olmsted decision, I worked on affordable housing, and I worked on some really hard high-rise developments that were all public housing projects, and they were awful. And the feds went after us because there was a lot of public safety concerns and suffering that happened. And under federal law, when you're found guilty of segregating the poor and vulnerable, what you have to do is desegregate, and that means helping the vulnerable to move into the community. And that usually means and I bet Clara knows this, but 10, I think it's housing with 10 individuals, spread throughout the community of supporting housing. And that way, when you integrate the vulnerable into the community, everybody's better off. And I know that we have other housing policies that are happening where, and state law is facilitating these kind of multi-unit housings that can happen in my neighborhood on the Upper West Side, so that you can have these kind of supportive housing spread throughout the community. So anyway, absent that, just waiting until we can see an improvement in safety standards in the Coral Street area before moving forward. Mandatory drug testing also really works for all supportive housing, and the people who live in that supportive housing are really grateful when their neighbors are drug tested, because they get to feel safe. And I also think the mandate that allows 100% affordable housing in industrial areas might be too far, and it should be mixed, mixed income. Because again, that leads to, that's just smart housing policy. And I mean, I'm not a planner, but I know that is A, legal, and B, leads to safer communities.
Thank you. And so I'm a little unclear on the process, I'm sorry, but are we,
Talking.
We need a motion.
we need a
in
motion?
second. And I thought since there's only 4 of us, and we all need to pass it, we should just hear what people think, and maybe we can all agree, consensus stuff. I mean, that's all good stuff. It's a little stronger stated, but I could live with it, just as a recommendation to city council. My main concern is the timing, that, with zoning, it's such a long development time frame, and I know that Housing Matters and others have, plans in this area already, so that my main concern would be kicking this off. I don't know, maybe others know more than me, but would be messing anything up that's in the works already. I do want to say I do green building work on affordable housing, and it's not a good comp in terms of size, but Brooklyn Basin in Oakland has, I think 270 unit affordable. Thank you. They just opened their managed by MidPen housing. The other thing we haven't talked about is the service providers, all those folks that manage these buildings. So without having too much naive hope of that being perfect, I do think it's a different animal than perhaps some of the ones you worked on before.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's a certainty that it won't be perfect. I think that one of the other elements that is driving this location is the existence of services that are meaningful in that area already. Some that have been recently withdrawn, unfortunately, but a lot that still remains. And those services are costly to reproduce everywhere. I agree with the barrier comment in terms of your thoughts on kind of the agreement that is made between people that are given the help and behavioral norms, but it's also a hard nut to crack with the populations that you're dealing with. But I think that, as Matt said, this is more or less a proof of concept, a proving of capacity to comply with state law. And I'm dubious that we would see the kinds of density that is even allowed by this.
I'm not sure I agree with that based on what we've seen recently, but I agree with everything that Monica said, or Commissioner Hammer has said. And again, I think we can all agree that it's complicated. I feel like I would want the proof of concept. I would want the council to really have some very specific operational mechanisms in place shelter beds would be immediate, but development and shelter beds are different. I mean, we've seen that the shelter beds that they put in the parking lot are, those pods are assembled in a day. That's not what the 8-story is looking for. I mean, it's not what that is. I mean, what those 8 stories are is what they're building currently on the Housing Matters property. And that could happen, and so we have to look at it that way. And so I know a lot of property owners in that area that are not in this overlay. Granite obviously is feeling like they don't want to be included in that because they want to maintain their industrial use, but there are probably plenty of industrial zoned properties there that wouldn't mind being able to take advantage of housing development that were market rate, and they can't do that because they're industrial zoned, and our city has been very clear that we want to maintain that. In this instance, it appears to people who have wanted to do something different with their property that this is a mechanism that works for the city, and so therefore that zoning will change, but nobody else can do it in the area. But the people in this area that own property have been enduring this issue for quite some time. And so that is complicated. And so this is also another layer of my struggle about this, is like, I know we need it and I understand the effort that's been put into it, but we're talking about a whole host of property owners that are impacted by this decision, and it's not equal. They're going to have to put up with what the construction and all of the test case situations that are going to go with bringing this many beds into that area. And so I feel for the community on that. So I would want the council to really think through, like, not just conceptually, but like, if this gets implemented, how is this going to work? So.
Thank you. So I'm genuinely not sure how to move this forward at this point. So is this another?
I'm feeling like
we need
further
another
consensus now that we've all
Yeah,
talked personally.
but we need another
Yeah, that's just
motion,
how I'm feeling.
correct?
Yeah.
And a second to move forward.
I'll try to move it with respect to Commissioner Hammer's comments, just as written by staff.
Can I second that? I will second that.
And these are all great concerns, but I do feel like we're just providing the zoning. And it's a bit of a chicken and an egg. Like, I think new buildings there of any size will help that situation, like at the end of the day.
And for the record, I have no objection to expanding it to a larger area, but this entire visioning study has been done and worked on for quite some time. And that's not to say that it couldn't be expanded in the future either.
Sounds like it'd have to be readjusted based
Yes.
on the arena hit counts in, 6 years anyway. So if it works, great, expand it. People are begging to get in. That's not what I heard in the early scoping. Everyone's like, stay away from me. So
Can I have a restatement of what the additional, what I'm assuming this motion is you're agreeing with some of the things that she
nope,
said?
this is just clean.
Or you're just bringing it up against staff?
We had some discussion to try and see if I could get
Gotcha.
everybody on board. And
Okay, perfect, thank you.
that's what you understood with the second, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna,
Further discussion?
And noting that this discussion will be communicated with council.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's always okay.
Can we call a roll?
Kennedy,
I
Gordon,
Yes.
Hammer?
Tell me again what this is voting on.
It's a recommendation, it's to follow staff recommendation.
Oh, then no.
And McKelvey?
Yes.
So we're at where we were before.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Correct.
Was that the,
That's it. I mean, you can keep going, but that
okay,
motion failed, I guess, right?
yeah, so we need another motion then that gets
It's weird because
It's
it's like.
three votes.
Voted on this one.
What's that?
So we either need to approve a motion with 4 votes, or we need to deny with 3 votes.
Mm.
2 failed
What?
votes seems to be a denial.
Could I make a suggestion?
Let me ask-
Commissioner,
So what effect does that have?
could Commissioner Hammer come up with some language that we could insert in the approval as an amendment that we could vote on and even if it's just for the purpose of requesting discussion by the city council on particular topics?
Give it a little more punch.
Correct, yeah, there could be a motion on the floor that says approve staff recommendation with the following noted to
Right.
council for them to consider, et cetera, something like that.
Would you like to do that?
I could only vote yes if we reduced density, reduced height, because again, I mean, a public housing project of this magnitude approved in this way, I think is irresponsible. And so, I mean, at the very least, if we reduced it to 5 stories, I could imagine a scenario in which maybe the city could handle and improve the public safety of a housing project of that magnitude. I mean, maybe. I've never seen it done before, but it's nice to know that Oakland has a 200-unit project out there and that we're, and I've also seen beautiful nonprofit affordable housing providers that do a great job management. So I'm like, maybe, I could say, okay, like,
I
can try.
think 5 is a great number. 4 stories over podium, that's probably what you're gonna get anyway, just guessing.
But do we have that authority?
but we could recommend it.
Yeah, okay. Would you like, is there some language that you would prefer to?
I mean, again, I would only feel comfortable approving this if it were 5 stories instead of 8. And if that's not an option, then I just have to vote no.
Could you dictate some language to,
Oh, I mean, all we have to do is, I think the 8-story situation is, let's see, on page. Oh, here it is. It's on page 2.22, and it's section 24.10.4440. Item number 2 would read, for buildings in which uses include at least one of the uses described in subsection blah, 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 and the maximum height of buildings shall be 5 stories at something feet. So that would be my amendment. And then I feel like I could support it.
would you feel comfortable saying that council should consider reducing the height? Because do we have the authority to?
Making smaller and
Yeah.
squeezing smaller and smaller.
Well,
Keep the overall count.
Yeah, regardless of the merit, I'm saying in terms of,
Yeah. So it's like we might be
Commissioner
on
Gordon?
impasse.
You can recommend a text change.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can recommend a text change whether or not council accepts it. That's, our job is to amend it to whatever I think we want to see, right? I mean, we're allowed to do that. But just for the sake of discussion, if we're still discussing, we only need 400 beds. The zoning overlay that they have proposed is way greater than that. So I don't think that we're squeezing units necessary, that isn't necessary. If a developer wants to do that, which we've seen and they do for themselves, then they can. But I don't think that reducing it down is going to result in us having to make units smaller to meet those numbers based on the overlay size. It's just.
No, that's a helpful comment. So even though we do that, like for the downtown expansion plan area, for luxury condos, and, the Warriors Stadium, now we're over here in Coral Street, and we shouldn't shoot for the moon. I'm a little bit worried about that. But again, I can live with 5 stories to get this done. Because otherwise, we might be out of compliance with state law. There's all these other effects here that I don't want to explore.
so is there an amendment, can you offer any language, Matt, or is it strictly up to us to do that?
It's up to you.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Hammer, she
Yeah,
I think
that was
she
page
did it.
2.2. It was on page 2.22, section 24104440, number 2, change the word 8 stories to 5 stories. And I don't know what, it says 85 feet here, so I don't know what a 5-story building would be. Is it
I would
also
probably say-
85 feet?
I would probably say
55?
55.
Yeah, I would probably say 60.
Okay.
The 85 is kind of a building code max. And that's why it stops there, but I would say typically 60 feet would be a more comfortable height for a 5-story building.
Okay. So yeah, that would be my motion to amend that section.
Do we have a second on
I'll
the motion?
second that motion.
And can we call the vote?
So my question is, are you basically moving the staff recommendation with an additional recommendation to city council for this? Okay.
That one change.
Okay, I'll give you your roll call.
Thank you.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hammer,
Yes.
McKelvey.
Yes. So that takes us to the public hearing, I believe. proposal to amend municipal code chapter 2416. Do we have a staff report on that portion?
We do. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Akana Jaiwardner. I'm a senior planner at the Advanced Planning Division here at the city. And I am here tonight to present proposed updates to the city's fee waiver ordinance and an accompanying fee deferral policy for city council adoption. As part of this effort, staff has also developed a proposed fee waiver policy that will go before the council in March, along with the fee deferral policy. Fee waiver ordinance amendments are before the commission tonight for consideration, and the accompanying fee deferral policy is attached in the agenda report and will be presented here as an informational item. The fee deferral policy does not require comment from the commission at this time, but staff welcome any input the commission may have. For council direction, the proposed policies would be council adopted and do not require ordinance amendments, hence why they're not here before you today. So a little context about why we're proposing these amendments. Firstly, affordable housing is acutely needed in Santa Cruz, and staff believe that allowing fee deferrals for affordable housing developments would help in the production of affordable housing in the city. Secondly, several recent state law aims to reduce barriers to housing production, and the proposed amendments would align and further this goal. Thirdly, the proposed updates would aid in the implementation of the city's housing element, which are approved unanimously by the City Council in 2023. Objective 2.2B of the housing element specifically calls for updating the city's fee waiver ordinance to provide more clarity and to streamline the approval process. As mentioned, there's been a lot of state law recently that seeks to reduce or defer development review fees for residential development and impact fees for residential development. And SB 937 is of particular note today, so I'll just spend a little bit of time talking through that. This law went into effect in September 2024 and requires that local agencies must defer the collection of impact fees for residential development projects until the date of final inspection or until the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. This procedural update on when impact fees are collected is already being implemented by the city. These deferrals essentially lessen financial barriers that can constrain housing production by reducing the need for developers to finance substantial upfront costs with high-interest construction loans. This timing shift can reduce the overall project costs and increase the financial viability of affordable housing developments, and thereby support the creation of more affordable housing units and advance the city's housing goals. The proposed fee deferral ordinance updates build on this legislation and further support the production of affordable housing through the deferral of development review fees, in addition to the deferral of impact fees. The city's current fee waiver ordinance states that the city may grant waivers for development fees if these waivers aid in the production of units affordable to low or very low income households. The amendments before the commission tonight propose replacing the existing language around fee waivers for eligible projects with language specifying that the city will offer development review fee deferrals for 100% affordable housing developments. And you may be wondering why we're proposing to replace fee waivers with fee deferrals to better support affordable housing. Currently, fee waiver applications for such projects must go before the City Council for approval. The proposed amendments would allow fee deferrals to be approved by staff if projects meet specific criteria, and thereby expedite development timelines and also create certainty for developers. If a project seeks fee waivers, they may still appeal to the council, as is the current process. Staff believe that this streamlined process will further support the production of housing. These amendments will be accompanied by a council-adopted development review fee deferral policy, which will stipulate which fees are eligible for deferral and the terms of deferral. We chose to detail the specifics around fee deferrals in a policy rather than in the ordinance to allow for nimbleness in making future updates as needed. Fee waivers, on the other hand, will be governed by a proposed city council adopted fee waiver policy, as was described in the agenda report discussion section. Under the proposed fee deferral policy, development review fees for 100% affordable housing developments may be deferred for a maximum of 5 years unless a substantially complete building permit application is submitted. If such a building permit application is submitted, fee deferrals may continue until a certificate of occupancy is issued or for a typical duration of up to 5 years following the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Fee deferrals that extend beyond the issuance of a certificate of occupancy will accrue interest at a rate set annually by the finance director. Applicants who seek fee deferrals must submit a supplemental fee deferral application along with submission of a 100% affordable housing planning application. If the fee request is approved, the applicant will enter into a fee deferral agreement and payment plan with the city. Under the proposed policy, all development review fees, including building, community development, fire, parks, police, public works, and water fees, will be eligible for deferral unless they fall into the following categories. The fees paid by the city to third parties will continue to be due at standard times. So for example, the city hires external consultants to do plan check and things like that, and those costs will continue to be paid at either permit issuance or permit submittal. While certain impact fees must be deferred until the issuance of a certificate of occupancy under SB 937, these fees will not be eligible for deferral beyond the issuance of a certificate of occupancy under the proposed policy. So the proposed ordinance amendments and policies aim to further public necessity and general community welfare by further supporting the production of affordable housing in the city. These updates align with good zoning practice and fulfill Housing Element Objective 2.2b. Following action by the Planning Commission tonight, the proposed ordinance amendments and accompanying fee deferral policy and fee waiver policies will proceed to City Council for a first reading on March 10th. And should City Council approve the proposed amendments and policies, they will proceed to a second City Council reading on March 24th. If approved at the second reading, the changes will take into effect 30 days later. Our recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council to approve the proposed amendments to the City of Santa Cruz Municipal Code, Chapter 24 and associated sections, and acknowledge the determination that the proposed amendments are not a project under the California Environmental Quality Act. That concludes my presentation, and staff is available if any questions.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Do any commissioners wish to comment or ask questions? I have some questions, but go
I
ahead.
think it's great.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Let's do it. The more fee deferral, the better. I've been 15 years of working with affordable housing folks. They're like, why do we have to pay this way up front? So, great.
Anyone else?
I guess I would prefer to see the fee waiver policy just so I could make a more informed decision. But other than that,
The fee waiver policy is detailed in the agenda report, and that is no different than the formal policy document that's being sort of wordsmithed at the moment.
okay, so a fee waiver would require city council approval, is that right?
A fee waiver for 100% affordable housing projects would require city council approval,
Okay,
and the fee waiver policy that we've worked on as part of additional council direction to provide waivers to projects on city-owned land, which is what the fee waiver policy details, can be
Oh.
approved by staff.
Okay, so the fee waiver policy you're referring to is the one waiving fees on city-owned land?
Correct.
Got it. I did not understand that. Thanks.
We had the Natural History Museum up here recently.
I have some questions if no one else does. Could you just briefly describe the differences between the waiver policy that currently exists in the municipal code and what the policy for fee waivers would be?
Yes. Let me pull up the code. The code says that fee waivers may be allowed to units affordable to low or very low income households. And then it details fees that are eligible, so sewer and water connection fees, planning application, plan check fees, building permit fees, et cetera. So it lists those out in the ordinance and requires that these fee waivers are approved through city council.
But for example, in 2416-035, incentives for compliance with inclusionary housing requirements, item 4, residential developments in which all dwelling units are offered for rent, inclusionary units are provided within the development notes of certain criteria, a 27.5% city rental housing bonus is, and I'm assuming that's density bonus? Is that
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So that is no longer, that just by itself, that is no longer operative, correct?
I don't know that would not be operative. Matt, do you?
Well, this says it is eligible. It will be awarded this density bonus. And what I'm hearing in the report is that virtually all of this will become discretionary. Any fee waiver is a discretionary decision in the future.
For 100% affordable housing projects.
Well,
For,
are there,
sorry, for, yeah. Sorry, I'm not sure that.
We've essentially changed this section to only refer to fee deferrals.
correct?
And
But thereby you have excised waivers. And
Yeah,
you're going to play, your intention is to place it in a policy that is completely discretionary.
Correct. As it is right now, still if you go below the eligible for, what was eligible for fee waivers,
Yes,
it says the city may grant.
yes,
And so
That's what I'm saying is-
that's where we clean that up.
yeah. So I'll just go with a list of questions. So waivers are being replaced by deferrals in the ordinance, in the zoning ordinance, or the municipal code. Waivers are being removed and put into a discretionary process that is not yet defined, correct?
Correct. We have a draft and we explained it a bit in the staff report, but yeah, that's going to go straight to council because it's not technically, it's not making any zoning ordinance amendments.
And will we have any, as a commission, will we have any opportunity in the future to address that?
That policy itself will just be a council policy.
Can I clarify that
Yeah, of
that
course.
policy pertains to projects on city-owned land and not
Yes.
housing
Correct.
projects?
That was one of my other points. So is there any part of your research or work that shows that deferrals make affordable housing more likely than waivers?
When we've reached out to affordable housing developers, we've heard obviously waivers are the best. Like no fees are better than fees deferred.
Yeah, I can't imagine a scenario where it isn't better the other way around.
So
That's-
that would be the ideal. However, this policy and this ordinance amendments did have to balance the city's fiscal interests with what what we could best offer for affordable housing developers. So those waivers can still be possible. They still have to come to council like they would right now, and that might be something that could be
Well,
supported.
some of them do, but
Yeah.
some of them are just codified,
Correct.
correct?
But
Commissioner Kennedy, did you want to?
Oh, no, I'm just, when that permanent loan at the end of an affordable housing project hits, that's when you get credit for your energy efficiency and your
Oh,
solar panels.
all that, yeah.
So that all saves money, and this is just even better.
So I guess overall, I have reservations about this, obviously, because to me, I understand that it streamlines things and makes them somewhat more predictable, but it doesn't seem like the incentive to build 100% affordable housing is as strong. And I'm wondering if any thought has been given, for example, to the idea that you make these changes based on the number of units proposed in a project, or whether it's been discussed in terms of, is there a sweet spot in terms of the number of units that are typically proposed that could be utilized to, it's hard for me to imagine a small scale developer, property owner, even a homeowner under SB 9, taking on a project that the waivers are all basically, it's not on city land, it's a private project, et cetera. Already has inclusionary requirements, but doesn't any longer have access to any of the waivers that are currently available.
so the way we've seen this is that we're only improving upon what's already allowed. We're not removing that ability to have anything waived. And we're putting in place a streamlined process to get immediate deferral without even having to go to council. That was the intent
Correct
of
me if I'm
this.
wrong, do the waivers not only apply to city-owned property, though? So anyone can apply for
The
them?
policy applies to, the policy that allows staff approval for waivers applies to projects on city-owned property.
Uh-huh.
Affordable housing developers can still appeal to council for waivers. It's just not in the ordinance.
Right, but I guess my point is that if you are not Mid-Penn, if you're not, a large nonprofit or something like that, and you're considering doing this, and let's face it, most of the projects in our community are pretty small, it seems to me like the incentive is actually reduced when it becomes a completely discretionary process for any of the waivers to be approved.
I think what we're trying to say though is it's completely discretionary already. So we're not removing that
Well,
discretionary
that one
process.
that's in here isn't, right? This is just a given. Part number 4 in that first section that I read. That's if you meet these conditions, then you are eligible for a 27.5% density bonus. And I don't even know how many people have taken advantage of that. I'm just saying that the idea that, and I'm not sure that that's the only thing that's read this way. I'm just saying that for every instance like this, they no longer are entitlements, if you want to say it that way. Am I reading that incorrectly?
Yeah, everything here is still in place. The only thing we're changing is that first line that's saying fee waivers may be granted. Now we're just removing that and saying fee deferrals may be granted. And then we have updated language below that clarifies how you can be immediately eligible for those fee waivers or fee deferrals.
Okay.
And the blue strikeout is simply removing a one list item and creating just a paragraph that still allows for the same thing that it originally did.
It still says the same thing. It just removes this A because it's just a list of one bullet point. So we just made it a paragraph. So the only other thing that's changing here is literally just saying that projects, if you comply with, our provision of inclusionary units, you can be eligible for a fee deferral, and then we
A deferral, though,
correct.
not a waiver.
But we're still in the policy saying that you can be eligible for a waiver too,
But it's discretionary.
but it's discretionary already right now.
I get it. So does this affect ADUs? The fee, does this affect the fee waivers that people use when they're building ADUs?
I mean, 100% affordable house, so we already have a fee waiver for, if you deed restrict your ADU, we do have fee waivers for that
It's not
already.
affected by this?
Correct. You could still go through that program if you wanted to. I think we've only seen one ever use it because it triggers prevailing wage. And so affordable housing developers already have to pay prevailing wage based on their financing mechanisms. So it's not an issue, but for a single homeowner, it's not typical to pay prevailing wage for an ADU. But we do have that program available to people.
All right, well, thank you. Any other questions?
So if a developer were to just read your code, how would they learn that a fee waiver is possible for their project?
That will just be in the council policy.
So they won't know.
Yeah, and it's something that we have clearly iterated in that policy.
How do they find out that a policy exists?
It's linked in the ordinance amendment, or it says fees eligible for deferral are outlined in the city council development review fee deferral policy. So they would know to look there for fee deferrals, and then it would.
And the fee deferral policy has language on fee waivers.
It would say that projects that seek fee waivers
Okay.
could appeal to council.
Got it.
Commissioner Gordon?
I was going to make a motion.
Did we want to see if
Don't we
anybody
have
from
a
the
public-
public wanted to talk?
Would any of the members of the public that are in attendance like to come and give some feedback on this?
Thank you so much, planning commissioners, for opening up the floor. I know I've missed oral communications, but thank y'all so much for taking the time to do this amazing work and to open up the floor. In terms of the affordable housing deferrals and referrals, as a constituent and as an educator throughout Santa Cruz at Harbor High School, the one thing that comes into question is what affordability really means. Right, so even though we want to develop within the city of Santa Cruz and we want to ensure that we build more affordable housing, we got to ask ourselves, is this type of housing really affordable? And on top of all of this, I believe that the Planning Commission and the City Council can do a better job in reframing the affordability frameworks of what affordability really means, tying that towards from rents to wages. I know right now we have a county-wide system where we assess the average median income countywide, and that's what we determine whether something is affordable or whether that's affordable housing or not. Probably localizing that towards a city level can really create a much more accurate and vivid picture of what affordability really means throughout the city. So although these waivers and these deferrals are good in terms of incentivizing more affordable housing, and I know that the developers have a positive incentive to make Santa Cruz more affordable, reframing what affordability means would be really imperative before moving on with these fee waivers. I wanted to also ask to see if affordability, if the affordable housing developers even need more fee waivers and more things, more free passes than what they're currently getting with the state density bonus, right? We don't want to discourage affordable housing developers from developing in the city, but we also must ask the questions how we can give back. How can the developers give back towards the community? And on that topic, I also wanted to my main purpose of being here is to talk about the Catalyst Initiative. I know that's
We
yes.
really need to stick to this item. Open oral communications has passed.
Okay, sounds good. But I wanted to, and I'll definitely respect that. Is there any way that I can properly communicate with the Planning Commission in order to?
I would just
Talk
advise
about
you to
this.
come to the next meeting. Everything you're talking about is perfect for oral communications, as long as it's not on the agenda for that meeting.
Perfect. That sounds good. But in terms of this topic, that is what these are the concerns that we have as the constituents of the city of Santa Cruz. Thank y'all so much for your community service that y'all do for our comunidades. Huge shouts out to y'all. Really appreciate y'all and mil gracias.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Anyone else in the public, or we don't have anyone on the phone, correct?
We don't do the phone.
We don't do the phone, okay, and we don't. All right, so I'd like
I
to
just
bring
wanted
back.
to say that like AMI is calculated by zip code.
Yes.
I thought so.
So are we coming back for discussion? Do we have a motion?
I would move to approve this as written.
I'll second it.
Can you call the roll?
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hammer,
Yes, oh, sorry,
Yes.
and McKelvey.
yes.
Motion passes.
Indeed.
Thank you, Tess. I don't know what we would have done without you tonight. With all those motions and counter motions.
Certainly.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Are we on to informational items now?
Indeed.
I'll first say congrats, Akana, your first
Yeah,
public hearing.
thank you.
And congrats also to Commissioners Hammer, McKelvey, and Kennedy too, for joining us in this new term.
Thank you.
Just a few quick things. We actually have quite a break in our calendar so far. I don't think we're expecting any items probably until May for Planning Commission again, before this body in a formal matter. But I will mention a few things that are coming up. Staff is working on our 2025 legislation summary. That's anticipated to go to council on February 24th. That'll be a consent item to council, and it's something that we've recently been sharing with Planning Commission just as information, not an information item at this meeting, but something we'll email out in a memo form or something like that, so you're aware of that legislation going forward. Similar to that too, Clara has been working tirelessly on our housing annual progress report due to the state on April 1st. And as part of those requirements, that also has to go to council for adoption to be sent to the state. And so that'll be going to council on March 24th. And we'll also be sending that report and housing data on to the commission as well for your information. And
So
then
doing that, I used to put that together like out of my head, and now there's so many projects that you need like a database.
we don't have the numbers yet on that, but I know the city has been doing a great job producing affordable housing, and the market rate housing is something we'll hopefully be catching up on as well.
And many thanks to you for making that happen.
And so many people in the city are involved with those successes. It's incredible. And then just quick highlights too. The item in May that I mentioned, that'll be the capital investment program, general plan consistency analysis. So that's typically where we'll bring those capital investment program projects and just share essentially how they relate to our general plan, and Planning Commission needs to make findings on that as part of our state requirements. And then also in May, we'll be approaching the 1 year anniversary of the downtown plan expansion happening. And there has been successes in that already going forward. So one example of those is 201 Front, Ace Hardware site. That's submitted a few months ago and is moving through the city. So we don't know exactly when that'll be before the commission, but in the near future, May or summertime,
Right.
something like that.
I don't think we have any subcommittee or advisory body oral reports. Am I correct?
I just had a 1 minute reflection.
Yes.
I'm on the oversight committee for the school bonds, which is kind of like the eating the vegetables of democracy. But we learned that the leasing up of the school project out there on Swift may actually house all the employees who want housing in the Santa Cruz City School District. And it like blew my mind, you know, against this affordable housing void that's so big. I just wanted to share how good it felt to be part of that. Like, boom, or like one more 200 unit building somewhere next to my house would be fine. We're done, you know, so I just really thought that was awesome.
I share your enthusiasm. Do we have any items that are referred to future agendas?
Nothing else for me, thank you.
I guess all that's left is adjournment.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.